Palantir has finally hosted their fourth AIP Con event, where customers revealed some huge results as well as some partnership information we didn't know about with Palantir. So AIP Con was literally announced the day before, so we'll just get into everything that happened and also my thoughts. So they open up with showing off the production value of the event going up, which is so much higher in my opinion. They got this montage with adrenaline rushing music, previewing their product in action for AIP, so you got to get the crowd pumped up, and I'm definitely going to be using this for B-roll in the future. Now, per usual, Alex Karp starts off and jokes about the entrance music, but he gets right down to business about the artificial intelligence platform AIP being around just over a year and getting to this point. And he explains why they made the product, why it's differentiated, and it's not Alex Karp speaking without going into philosophy and Western values, but most importantly, notes you don't have to agree with these views to be a customer at Palantir. So then he focuses on being aligned with winning with their partners and transitions to the ontology itself and trying to showcase its value and importance for building out an ontology for your business alongside leveraging LLMs. So essentially, he's telling the backstory of Palantir, focusing so much on the real world problems and that they were the precursors to building what they have today. And now that they have the infrastructure in place, you can actually implement AI in a responsible way, and that it's already been solved by Palantir with the things they've worked on for so many years before. Long story short, Palantir works. So first speaker starts out with AARP's SVP of Digital Strategy and Membership. They handle around 37 million members where they focus on the retired population as a membership organization. The big challenge is managing their multi-channeling of members and how to actually handle this large population and the data that comes with it. But how do they actually evaluate every member and track where they are in the life cycle of the relationship with AARP at so many different touch points? So that's why they got Palantir. They launched their prototype just in 45 days, and before Palantir, they didn't have any customized benefits listed on their websites because they weren't able to target effectively. And they showed this here because they had a 6-week delay of data before. But now they've gone to the point of a targeted experience for every single individual on all their digital ecosystems live. So the main impact here is huge and just getting the most effective targeting of an experience for these tens of millions of members. And this is based on the data and profiles they have of them. So this is massive considering the scale that this is being implemented at AIRP. Then we got the Chief Data Officer of Sompo Japan, who is a longtime customer of Palantir 2 out in the region. This presentation focused on the insurance side of their business, and she goes over the underwriting process and highlighted saving $60 million the last 3 years. But even more mind-boggling is that they expect to save a huge $100 million for the next 3. And this is not yens, but dollars. They mainly could achieve this because they're able to do more appropriate pricing, tying all together the relevant data, and having their underwriters working alongside AI. And with AI, they're able to get actionable feedback and suggestions and continually improve themselves, which ties directly to Palantir's philosophy of keeping humans in the loop. And with their next steps, they definitely will be sticking with Palantir, seeing these awesome numbers. Then we move on to the CEO of Northwind Technical Services. They're located out in Kansas as a small business, employing around 85 people, and that's as a specialized engineering company here, so they have a huge impact still. And they sell their control systems to end users at manufacturing plants, and they're focused on the North and South American market right now. But they specialize in the pet food industry, plastics building, food and beverage, and much more. And the problem that they're trying to solve is the shortage of skilled labor. So with this example of the modules they've built out with Palantir, he shows how in a factory working with AI, it can spell out all the steps and even show you how this will affect certain machines in the process. And on top of this is the audit trail where if someone changes something without you knowing, you can go back to what caused that certain value result. So with the success, they decided that they're going to keep integrating Palantir into their software products and chose them because they're the best in class in their opinion and they align with their core values and believes it will make them a better competitor in their market. Then we've got the CEO and Chief Digital and Innovation Officer from Tampa General Hospital, and they drop a huge bombshell later in their presentation. We've seen them a lot present at previous AIP Cons before, so starting out with the context, they talk about the healthcare landscape out in the US with average outcomes but crazy costs, and this is continuing to rise rapidly. So Tampa believes one of the ways to fix this is working with Palantir and their kind of products, and that's to leverage data to move quickly, which hospitals aren't known for at all. So they share some agreement terms that they started over 2 years ago with, and this partnership was for 3 years, and getting Foundry with limited engineering services, as well as the AI trial for AIP. And then they share the results slides with all the numbers we've seen before already at this point. So no huge blockbusters there, but they seem to be using Palantir across their whole organization. But what stole the show was them announcing that the partnership they recently extended with Palantir is for 7 more years. This speaks loudly to their commitment to Palantir and sticking Palantir, and has been, at least for its partnership, that they are there along the way, and that's major news. Then we got a huge surprise as well in the middle for the intermission. In past AIP cons, we just waited for intermission to end, but this time we get a very engaging panel interview with 3 employees hosted by the one and only Amit. So huge congratulations are in order for him, as well as the whole Palantir community overall, getting a literal seat at the event. And they first started with their insights and summary about the first keynote speakers, but then moved on to AIP boot camps, where they focus on what is still working and stayed the same since the beginning of the boot camps, which is the hands-on experience and opportunities for customers to actually use the software and get value, but also what has changed, and that is the sheer speed that people are able to utilize the newest stuff coming out and being developed. And that's happening constantly for Palantir. And that seems to be the theme of the bootcamp, where this speed to value is literally there, because an example brought up was United Airlines was able to implement a beta module that was just developed, and it immediately gave them a value. So it's mind-blowing on how quick they're able to use this. And then they also moved on to the sneak preview for new products. Jack notes that the customers are literally doing the product development here with building new use cases and able to scale it to production out of tests very quickly. Then everything also being scalable already, the note besides these AIP evaluations. And this is being announced, which is the answer of knowing if the output and cost are aligning with what you expect when using AI. So I did cover AIP evaluations a while back here before, but that was when they weren't officially announced. But then we also moved on to how Chad gives his perspective on the value of Palantir overall and its speed to production, which requires the Palantir developer community. The idea is that being able to interact with other people using Palantir, and also with a shout out to CodeTrap, who's been asking about this for so long, is major for them, where they then move on to the preview of what's to come for the last keynote speakers, which I'll save for the presentations. But they interestingly also bring up how Chad previously was a Palantir customer. Before becoming an employee, and I didn't know this before, he was able to see the vision of what the company is working on and solving real problems and making solutions, and was able to touch on what each employee is also looking forward to for the rest of the AIP Con, and that's how they closed out the interview. So back to the presentations, we get a longtime presenter, once again Jacobs. As a huge global engineering and technology firm, they've been using Palantir for years. They showcase some examples of how they help clients with Palantir's products and building out solutions, especially with their water treatment, all while being one of the first adopters of them. And they made sure to note this. They posted that they had their 10 workflows on the AIP marketplace, which sounds like other customers can pay for. But the big reveal here, honestly, similar to Panasonic from the last AIP Con, is that they have a mixed reality solution, and Jacobs made sure that this is available to their employees. They will enable their employees to get real-time tasks assigned as well to specific people, and showing what is happening all around them with different parts of their facilities. So it sounds like cross-training between clients is happening, especially since the use case just makes sense, from Panasonic's technicians all the way to the water plant operators. So you're just changing the industry here. Then we get the lead echo from Fujitsu. They provide IT services and have more than 15,000 Foundry users, as well as 100 plus Foundry engineers, and they bring in billions in revenue and built more than 100 applications all by themselves on Palantir. As one of the biggest Foundry users in the world, they're also a leading implementation vendor for Palantir, getting this scaled across their clients across the globe. So they presented the internal use case of the SCM for hardware business, which led to over a mind-boggling 1 billion yen cost reduction per year, which is around $65 million. So with the dashboard shared, they dove into the demo that looks into the dashboard and how they created this here and dealing with adapting changes and variables like, say, a disaster response. So it kind of turned into a sales pitch where they have over 30 templates and wanted other people to see them, but it's still a strong showing here, especially with showcasing the cost savings. Then we got Parexel, presented on their focus of working with clinical data. Centralizing their data was a major contribution from Palantir, catching up technologically, which gives them that complete view for the professionals to really compare how clinical studies are turning out. And a cool side note from the speakers was Palantir is actually the number 2 priority for their board, so there is a complete commitment and vote of confidence to using Palantir. Now, results-wise, they share the impacts like 6 to 7 hours saved per subject matter expert for each study design, and also reducing the time to data delivery by half at 50%. With the quick demo they shared there, they show how all the AIP linked information is tied together, including external information, which lets their people interact with AIP while keeping them in the loop as experts in their field. So they continue to look forward to see how much Palantir can speed up their research here with important improvements that they're already seeing today. Then we get a longtime customer and well-known name, United Airlines, since 2018. They presented predictive maintenance. As the biggest airline in the world, they have over 1,000 aircrafts to manage. In 2018, they built a huge database of millions of records happening across their business alongside Palantir, and that was to leverage the true insights they can get from it. Each flight now, they're able to get heartbeats from all their information, which produces a huge data set that monitors their aircraft and are able to monitor the experience of passengers constantly. When they found an issue, their system immediately flagged the issue, which allowed them to immediately resolve this in real time, where they could then see the actual results of the fix being effective. This is instantaneous, whereas before they had to gather data for weeks to ensure the fix was actually working. And note, this is across the whole enterprise here and someone so large as United. So with deploying Chime, they've saved around 300 delays, 20 cancellations, and almost 200 out-of-service aircraft, which would have been affecting 107,000 passengers, but they didn't actually have to end up canceling them since this worked for them. So Palantir has given United the ability to touch all parts of the business where maintenance can be done at ideal times, and also with the huge influx of new technicians, they can get them up to speed faster and quicker. And this is all continuing to be a feedback loop for United. And that's how they close out the stream. What are my thoughts on the whole event? Well, I think it's great to see we have a variety of fresh new faces being keynote speakers, some obviously better than others, but we got our own taste and decide which we like. But also the numbers are important to me. The mind-blowing 7-year extension from Tampa General is music to my ears, while also Sompo pointing at the $60 million saved the last 3 and expecting $100 million more saved in the next 3 shows me the sheer value that Palantir is bringing to them and that the partnership is not in any danger. And then also that 50% reduction in time for Parexel with data delivery and chopping off 6 to 7 hours in each and every study, which can compound to a lot of hours globally, as well as Fujitsu, who a major user of Foundry themselves, not only as an implementer of Palantir, but internally themselves able to save a huge 1 billion yen or $65 million saved in their own cost internally is mind-blowing. And then also the inclusions of the backstage pass hosted by Amit was a major event in my opinion. It's great to see a Palantir retail investor who most would say is the face of the community get the chance to do a panel talk with the employees, which speaks loudly about how the company views retail investors, and even if brief, the thoughts on the Palantir developer community, because honestly, I see that as the next step to reaching scale here and getting developers on board. Getting customers is always important, but these customers need a workforce to pull from that has the skills to actually leverage and get value out of Palantir. So AIPCon4 looks to be a success in my opinion, with a lot going on and getting better and better each and every time, and Palantir seems to have more to come here. But what are your thoughts below? And I'll see you in the next video.